After 8 whole years of waiting, Kawaki will finally attain the most awaited timeskip attire, and it's almost confirmed. The latest chapter reveals that Kawaki was modified with some power limiters that have reduced his offensive powers but highly enhanced his defensive capabilities. And the one behind this is none other than the mystery scientist Amado, who has the potential to bring a Kaguya level twist to the story. But this time he has been accused of nerfing Kawaki for his personal intent. For over 15 chapters, Kawaki was slandered for not training enough and living a comfortable life under the title of the Hokage's son, even though the hints of his training were always there, judging by his Kokugan, which has attained all the triangles, and this feat is definitely not possible to achieve without training. Yet he was humiliated by Boruto himself for not training, in spite of knowing the truth behind his regression. If you guys think he did that to raise up Delta, hit the like and subscribe button right now. The other major allegation that Kawaki had to face due to the secret modification of the scientist is the blame of jealousy that he allegedly shared with Boruto. Many people thought the reason he wants to take Boruto's life is not just because he's an Otsutsuki, but also due to the fact that he's jealous of the life that Boruto has taken for granted. He wanted to create a legacy of his own just like Sasuke, instead of living under his father's shadow. But in the eyes of Kawaki, Boruto was living his dream life, as an ordinary outsider like him would have been killed for being the vessel for an uncontrollable monster. That's why when he decides to commit the sin of taking Boruto's life, the whole village got against him, and these feelings of making Boruto an outsider manifested through omnipotence. In chapter 15, it's revealed that he doesn't even want himself alive after fulfilling his goal of killing all Otsutsukis, which clearly means that he didn't just steal Boruto's life to make things comfortable for himself, rather he actually cares for the greater goal, which is to make things better for everyone else. He literally doesn't care about himself in his pursuit of doing what he thinks is the most ideal. But Amado messing with his karma made it appear like he was too comforted in his newly acquired life that he forgot to train. Well, that's definitely not the case here, since Kawaki's offensive powers have been adjusted to a certain level by Amado, and no matter how much he trains, he would never go beyond that level, even though he may still not be at his prime level right now, considering Boruto's recommendation of unsealing Naruto and training under him, which is realistically impossible, not just because they don't have time, but also due to the complexities that Kawaki brought into his life out of impulsivity. But the reveal of the limiters also means that he doesn't have to waste years into training when he can instantly tap into the true experience of Ishiki or Otsutsuki. Notice how Boruto said Kawaki's defensive and regeneration abilities are above maximum. So if the same is done with his offensive abilities, he would definitely tap into the complete essence of Ishiki or Otsutsuki. As said by Code in an older chapter, the karma is the source of an Otsutsuki's millennium-long experience. This means Kawaki is about to receive the ages-long experience of a formidable Otsutsuki soon after his confrontation with Amado. Now there are a few points about Kawaki's removal of the limiters that we know from the case of Code. He was also modified with limiters, which took the spotlight off the story for a good amount of time, as everyone believed his new form will be the reason behind Konoha's destruction. But unfortunately for him, it turned out to be a gimmick after he was brutally destroyed by Daemon. However, the details that we got to know from the whole nuisance that he went through can be applied to understand the limitless awakening of Kawaki better. First and foremost, Amado needs to look Kawaki straight in the eye, as there is an iris recognition system which only lets the scientist lift the limiters. Once he gets identified, he can use a voice command that will unleash the true power of Kawaki. This means even if someone else knows the code to lift limiters, he won't be able to do much in helping Kawaki. But that's completely irrelevant, as the Red Karma wielder seems to be headed towards Amado in the next chapter. Now the mystery remains, what could be the secret code that would lift these power limiters? Well, my guesses would be something related to the meaning of Kawaki's name, which is drive. We have seen Amado using a code to shut down Delta, which had something to do with his feelings as a father towards Akebi, and the one used to lift the limiters on Code was a pun on the word code, and maybe also a reference to his new appearance. But when it comes to Kawaki, he doesn't have one but two secret codes implemented inside of him, so I'm expecting both of them to be some sort of riddle that could potentially reveal some secret about Kawaki's life, or maybe the secret purpose for which Amado is using him. I have a really interesting video on this topic, so don't you forget to check that out later. Talking about Amado, who seems to be pulling all the strings from behind for his greater purpose, there are a few questions that I can't stop thinking about. How long was the scientist keeping an eye on Kawaki? Does he know about the fate of Naruto and the omnipotence incident? Can he only see a live stream of Kawaki's vision, or does he have access to his memories too? These questions would help us to discover how big of a threat Amado actually is, and what he could be hiding behind the daughter's narrative. But before understanding the truth behind these mysteries, let's figure out why Amado has put these limiters on Kawaki at first place. The game that the scientist is playing with the vessel is completely ruthless, since he's using his body for his personal gains. And when you compound this detail with how terrible Kawaki's childhood has been, followed by the torture that Jigen made him go through, it seems like Momoshiki was right when he told him that he's being used by others. Not even Amado treated him like a human and always saw him as a tool that would help him get to his ultimate goal. He modified his eyes with surveillance scams to understand what type of person he actually is, in order to put him in perfect positions where he would crave power. The biggest obstacle for Amado in the beginning was the resentment of Kawaki towards the Karma Seal, but the scientist made sure he would desire it back due to the weight of the situation, and that's exactly what happened. Well, this kinda answers our first question. Amado has been spying on Kawaki forever, since he believes the only person who could give Boruto this detail is Kashin Koji, and since he has no idea about Koji's prescience power, it means he had modified Kawaki with the limiters in the presence of the cyborg. Plus, we could see him talking to himself many times as if he was cheering up Kawaki when he regained his karma to fight Code. Moreover, he could be seen making nervous gestures while looking into his goggles in some chapters, and now with this new detail that we have obtained, it's almost confirmed that Amado was looking through Kawaki's vision in these panels. Not to mention, Aida said he has modified his eyes with scientific ninja tools, so maybe she was referring to his goggles here, which can see through the vision of his most precious cyborg. The next mystery surrounding Amado and the surveillance that he installed in Kawaki's eyes. Does he know about Naruto's whereabouts and omnipotence? Well, he definitely does now, since Boruto mentioned them while he was watching the live stream. But as for if he knew about them before, well, I would say yes, he did. And that's what makes him the most dangerous player of this game. The reason I think so is because of the reaction that he gave after listening to what Boruto had to say. The only thing that surprised him was Boruto's knowledge about the limiters, and he completely ignored the Naruto and omnipotence part. This only means one thing. Amado already knew about these major events, but decided to focus on his main goal instead of confronting Kawaki about them. This may be why he was so cool and calm, even after losing the person for whom he migrated to Konoha. The memory rewrite didn't make Amado go wild, just to find the vessel who held the DNA of his daughter, simply because he knew what had happened. Now think of it this way. Amado said he can recognize the karma on Kawaki's hand, cause after all it's his own invention. And according to what was revealed, this must be the only detail that made him figure out his memories were tampered, right? Well, I think what Amado did here was deflecting the issue to a minor detail, while in reality, his source to figure out the truth was a huge one. The fact that he could see through Kawaki's lens was enough evidence for him to figure out that a switcheroo had happened, and even if he didn't see that from his eyes, the proofs under his hand were enough to make ideal changes in his plans. This includes the revival of RKB through Kawaki, who was perceived as the Hokage's son due to some magic spell. Now, as for the final question of whether he had access to Kawaki's memories or not, I believe he must have a backup of his memories that he could access anytime, but looking at how his reaction to Sama Boruto's revelation was negligible, it's very likely that he saw most of those events, be it the sealing of Naruto or the omnipotence. So it really doesn't make a difference whether he has those memories stored or not. The saddest part about Kawaki's actions getting monitored was the amount of exploitation that he got to face throughout his lifetime. He was never comfortable with Aida or Mitsuki spying on him, and with the reveal of Amado looking at him the entire time, must be really disheartening to him as a character. It's as if his life isn't actually his own, and he's being used by others for their own benefit. Maybe that's the fate of people with Ishiki's DNA, since Code is also living a kinda similar life. What's even worse is that he has been implanted with a shutdown code, and only Aida and Daemon know about it. So if things ever get too worse, Amado could use that code to shut Kawaki down. But looking at how the things are destined to end, I don't think Amado would get a chance to use that shutdown code. Now, as for the switch that would trigger Kawaki's real powers, hopefully in the next chapter, it could be that the secret code of Amado that he would use to lift his limiters would also grant him this timeskip attire, which is being teased from the prologue scene. screen. There were so many theories about how Kawaki would gain this outfit. Maybe he would go back to his biological father to know the truth about the shinobis, or maybe he would take the path of Jigen after realizing ninjas are nothing but tools who brought misery in this world. Well, everything aside, the activation of the secret code that removes his limiters being the reason behind Kawaki's outfit change is a very plausible possibility in my eyes, simply because Code 2 underwent a visible design change after his limiters were taken off. So like this video if you think the Jigen inspired Kawaki should appear after his limiters are removed. Now let's move on to the true reason behind Amado limiting the power of Kawaki. It's something that intrigues me to know more about Amado's schemes. Not only did he fool us all by portraying Kawaki as a fraud for over 15 chapters, but he's also trying to use him for his own purposes instead of making him reach the pinnacle of his destiny. Boruto said that Kawaki was supposed to know this secret himself later, but the sooner the better. And now we could get to see the scientist getting bullied again for doing something totally unacceptable. But the question remains, why did he do it? Well, I think he knew Kawaki would form resentment against the Osatsukis and could go after the entire clan to take his revenge. The exact same thing that he declared to Naruto. Amado knew in advance how Kawaki was going to operate, and since Ishiki's karma held absolutely monstrous powers, it wasn't impossible for Kawaki to finish his goal and then exterminate himself, or he could just get destroyed by some other Osatsukis in his quest to killing them all. So to prevent any such scenario from happening, Amado modified his offensive abilities with limiters just to prevent him from going too far. Also, limiting the power of Kawaki has kind of saved Boruto's life too, since there was no way he could have been saved from a limitless avatar of his brother. But now that things have started to improve between them, so maybe we should expect to see them uniting against the Shinjus till Kawaki gets his next major breakdown, which forces him to go berserk on the shinobi world. I low-key feel like he should trap Amado in his Daikokuten after getting back his true powers. This would explain why he didn't get shutted down all these years. By getting rid of the scientist, he would remove the whole Akebi angle from the story. And looking at how Amado was not able to fulfill his plans even in the other timelines that Koji foresaw, it would make sense for him to just disappear till he is really needed in the plot. Well, coming back to Kawaki and his eventual misuse of power, I think his rampage from the future is pretty much justified now, considering how much of a suffering he had to witness from different people. It all started with his biological father, then Jigen, Ishiki, and now Amado. All of them were using him as a tool, and it was just the Uzumaki family who accepted him wholeheartedly as a member. This may be why he wants to protect Boruto in the future now. He sees him as one of the very few people who understood him. That's why he includes him among the few lucky ones who get to spend their time inside the Daikokuten. But the most unexpected angle would be his hatred for shinobis, which has only been teased once in the entire manga. How would someone who's resentful towards an intentional alien species randomly switch his focus to overtaking the system that governs the entire world? The only hint that we have is the way he described the shinobis from the time when he attacked Boruto. So what if the actual reason behind Kawaki's shinobi war is some hidden layer in his backstory that could get revealed later? At surface, it may seem like Amado needed Kawaki's karma to revive Akebi, but what if I told you he actually needed the DNA of Kawaki, which was the only compatible match for his dead daughter? If you wanna know more about the secret connection between Amado, Kawaki, and Delta, check out the video on the right for a mind-blowing stream of thoughts and theories. I will see you next time.